please.
All right, I guess we'll get started. Everybody listen up. So our fearless leader is unable to attend this evening. He's out of town on a work assignment. So KB4 Q&R, most of you all know me. I don't see too many new faces. I see a few. But anyway, I'll help run the meeting tonight since he's not here. I'll try to do my best. It's been a long time. I've done this before, but it's been a long time. It was probably it was in the early 1990s when it was. And I was president for 2 years in a row, somewhere 93, 94, 92, 93, somewhere in that time frame. So I've been around the club a long time. I got licensed in '86. I've watched the Ham Fest all around, not only ours, but the ones all around us kind of dwindle over the years. A lot of you guys that's been in a long time have seen the same thing. And so that's one sad part of the hobby. Maybe we can find a location this year, and hopefully maybe we can pull something off. You know, we'll see how that goes. That's always a big challenge. And that's another thing. We got a lot of new members, and anybody that would like to help recruit volunteers to actually do some things for the club, you know, there's some assignments we could give out, and people could help on a Hamfest committee and different things like that. So I like to get people to participate and pitch in and not just let 2 or 3 have, you know, fall back on a lot of just the same people over and over. You know, they're good-hearted people, but you can beat a good horse to death too. So anyway, that's all I got about that. We'll run down through our committee reports, I guess, and let's see. I guess Bart will have you need to take it? Bart, you got a report for us on the testing coming up or anything?
There's nothing for the treasury report, but I do have some test dates. There was a change. Saturday, the 11th of January was supposed to be a test date, but they was busy in the EOC in Winchester, and they changed it to the 18th. So the next test date is January the 18th, which is next Saturday. It's at the Clark County EOC, 10 o'clock. You need to contact Daryl Epperson, and you need to go through hamstudy.org to register for it. And most of these are that way. You need to pre-register for those test dates. That way they can get the paperwork into the computer and get you logged in. There's a test date on January 28th. That's on a Tuesday down in Lawrenceburg. There's one on Saturday the 25th, which is in Danville. Saturday the 25th, let's see, February the 8th is here in Lexington. Fernie is doing that one, and on March the 8th is one in Georgetown. So
There's four right there.
Yeah,
Right?
so you've got a bunch of them right here close by, and then if you miss those, you can always go to Danville or Lawrenceburg for the test dates on that. But make sure that you go to hamstudy.org to sign up for the test. That way you can get your paperwork in there. That's it.
Real good. Thank you. Thank you, Bart. Real good. Bart, you don't have anything, do you?
Not a
Nothing?
lot, but I brought some, this first come, first served. I put some extra A8 calendars over here on the table. If you want one, grab it.
All
You
right.
got to be first in line and get there though. And one thing we missed is why don't we go around and identify ourselves?
Okay, that's a good idea. Thank you, Hart. I'll let David start.
I'm David, W9KHZ, Whiskey 9 kilohertz.
I'm Harv, AA4HF.
I'm Dave, KY4DR.
I'm Joe, KQ4PTK.
I'm Mike, KD4SN.
Bart, KB4FEE.
Bob, KK2ICU.
Joe, KO4 UHG.
Anthony, Kilo Quebec 4, Sierra India Zulu.
Matthew, KY4 EOD.
Mark, KQ4, November Victor Bravo.
Braden, KQ4YHM.
Boyd, KQ4TTY. Tim, KY4LEX.
Jim, AI4SR.
All right, very good. Do we have, has anybody upgraded recently? We haven't had any. We haven't, no, everybody's here, nobody's upgraded. Okay. Just wanted to know if we had any upgrades too. You might mention them. So, Jim, what do you got anything for us? You got something cooking for next month?
No, just, Dave Richardson, number 2, and I are probably gonna start, we haven't talked yet, but probably start another kind of basic electronics through general and extra type classes, typically Wednesday evenings like we did in the past. But we haven't set a date on that, but it'll be in the next few weeks. I think that's all I have.
That'd be great. That'd be great because I'm sure there's a lot of people that would like to move on up. And, yeah, some of those books are written by engineers, man, and those manuals are not the best, not to me.
Okay, but my wife is going to be the acid test for it if she passes it. I mean, she's in insurance, for crying out loud.
Right, there you go. Okay, real good.
Thank you.
Well, David, what do you got for us?
There's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and I apologize for not getting it all done downstairs and outside. If the weather breaks and we have a nice weekend coming up, I'll need several people to help me work on this equipment outside, antennas and stuff. The windstorm that preceded this snow and ice took out one of our antennas. So we got 2 antennas out of commission right now outside. The end-fed long wire, Mars, laying on the sidewalk.
The antenna down here, that ends down here, the pole,
Yeah,
that pole is bent pretty good.
the one in the back? Yeah,
Right up there at the end, so.
I got you.
I didn't know if that
I'll go
was.
look at that. No, I didn't even see that one. That's, so we've got some antenna work to do. The weather has been kind of mean to us. Winterfield Day coming up, the last weekend of the month. It's always the 4th weekend of the month, which is most of the time is the last, but this year it's the last weekend of January. We'll be at the Kentucky Horse Park. And, you know, where we missed last week, and people were gonna bring their go boxes and stuff to kind of talk about a little bit of what you could build for like field day and things like that. So I just brought a couple of mine, and this one's for sale if anybody's interested. It's all right there, good to go. But, yeah, that's what we do at field day. You know, some people have, like I did, have extra radio that you could put in a box, and that way when you want to do a portable operation or, you know, do some kind of a show and tell or whatever, you can just grab it basically and hook it to an antenna and you're ready to go. I mean, literally, has everything in it. Just, you need an antenna, that's all. But that we set up on Saturday morning. It doesn't officially start till 2, but we usually get there about 9:30, 10 o'clock, start getting set up, and, you know, goof around, visit, talk, and hopefully we'll have decent weather. I hope all this is gone by then, and we have some nice weather, so keep that in mind. But if you all know of anything, and if you want to play radio, if you want to go downstairs on Saturday or any night through the week, basically, and you want to go in and play with the equipment downstairs, just holler. I'm good on QRZ. Just give me a ring or give me an email, and we'll let you in and let you play radio.
Question.
The nice thing about that, by the way, is techs can do anything we can do, but they'll be somewhere right there with them, an operator, so you don't have to have a general or extra license. Tech, matter of fact, you don't need any license if you're sitting down there with another ham. So anyways, anybody can show up. Bring your kids if they like the cold.
Yeah, maybe we should encourage those, a lot of the KQ newer members to come on out.
A bunch of them.
Yeah, because, just come out, that way they could operate HF if they've never done it before, be under the club call, so, yeah, that'd be great.
Got a question. I've been hearing some stuff the last day or so that actually the time for Winter Field Day has actually been shifted a little bit, starting a little bit earlier in the day, about an hour or so.
Hmm.
Like,
We'd have to check the ARRL website. I guess.
No, it's not ARRL, it's Winter Field Day.
Oh, it's,
But it's, I mean, I've
I'm seeing a
kept
couple
their
of
posts and their emails, I haven't seen anything on it. I mean, typically, they allow a little extra time, but there's some kind of caveat in there where you can start a little early and end a little early. But we're gonna start at 2 and end probably the next morning unless somebody wants to stay here today on Sunday. But, we'll start at 2 o'clock.
yeah, I've always found that even on regular field day, it's kind of hard to get much activity that Sunday morning.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that we had enough people that wanted to participate and were eager to participate, and that could come out on Sunday, you know? When we're packing up leaving, people come out and pick it up and keep going, that would be awesome. But unfortunately, after we've stayed all night, those of us that do that, we're ready for a nice warm bed and
Pretty ragged out.
Something warming to drink and sleep on and everything, yeah.
Pretty ragged out by then.
yeah, we're ready to go.
So, yeah, that would be great to have a crew of some of the newer members that could come in and make that Sunday all the way till 2 o'clock.
That'd be awesome.
If we could run the full length of the contest.
And, for those of you that's never participated in field day, just a brief, hey Bob, go ahead.
Just looking it up here, it said notable changes for Winter Field Day of 2025. Event times have changed, and the event has been extended beyond 24 hours. Locations do not have to remain fixed during the entire event. And then it says objectives previously called bonuses are now multipliers. Several objectives have been added.
So they've extended it beyond,
They extended it beyond 24 hours, and it does not have to remain fixed during the event.
so you can leave and still
So
participate.
you could start at the park and move to someplace else.
1600 start time on Saturday, 1600
I think that's
Yeah.
valid.
2159.
I think I heard that's valid, actually.
UTC.
Yeah, start 1600 UTC
kinda hard to
on
pack up
Saturday
and
and
leave somewhere else.
2159 on Sunday.
Not real quick, we have to do it
So
quick,
28 hours.
like in the military.
Okay. Well, we're gonna run from 2 to 2 anyway.
2 to 2.
That's just what we're accustomed to, but if you, come on out, well, field day kind of gives you a taste of what competitive ham radio is. It's like a contest in a way. You set up, ideally you set up in a remote location where a station doesn't normally exist, i.e. a field. Now, since COVID, a lot of that's changed, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but nowadays people think they can operate field day from their home shack, which is, I guess they're allowed to, but it seems silly. But you contest, and you're trying to get as many contacts as you can. And the software is, we all have it, it's freeware, we use the club's login information. And you can fill in the map, like some big states have multiple sections in it. Kentucky just has the
California.
one. Yeah,
They got-
or even New York, And so, the ideal is to get as many as you can on as many modes as you can, but what you're allowed to do over the course of your field day. And it's really fun, I think, and it gives you an idea of what contesting is like, because sometimes if you find a good open spot and you start calling CQ Field Day, CQ Winter Field Day, this is K4 KJQ Winter Field Day, and you start getting hit, and the next thing you know, you're working a pile up, and you're getting hit by 15 people at a time, and you have to learn how to pull out somebody's call sign that you hear in that mess of voices, and then you say, well, I heard a CQ in there, or a KZ or something, and they'll come back, and then you log them. You get basically their section and their classification and the call sign. That's all you get. And the section is, if you're Kentucky, you're KY. If we've got 4 operators, we're O or A5 or something. I forget what it is right now, but we're outside 5 people, and section is KY, and the call sign is K4, KJQ. And once you give them yours, you put it in a log and you move on. And Winterfield Day last year, we got into some runs where I worked like 60 or so, and I only do phone. And I worked like 60 or so in about an hour. We had hammering
a minute,
on phone.
that's nonstop.
I mean, it was just so fast and furious and I was logging and doing it by myself because it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And and I was like, somebody else take the frequency. I was just getting overwhelmed, trying to keep up with all of it.
Man, that's when it gets good.
It's fun. It's fun, but it gives you your first taste. A lot of people, their first taste of contesting is during a field day, and it can be fun, and it can be very fast and furious, and it can also be very frustrating when you're trying to fill in a map segment from some station up in Oregon, and you can hear him or her, and you keep trying, and they're calling CQ, and you keep trying to respond, but other people are stepping on you, or have a better path or a better signal, and you might sit there for 30 minutes and try, or an hour, and just give up, So it's a good learning experience.
Well, like Jim said, if you're a tech, it gives you the chance to operate like an extra.
Yep. Get there and hammer it out.
What it's like.
It's fun. I hope y'all come out. We'll eat. We'll have good fire. We'll have a bonfire, I guess. You're gonna bring your smoke ring, your green. Sometimes we had pizza. Sometimes we roast hot dogs over the fire, whatever. Sometimes it's icy and cold. Sometimes it's 70 degrees. You never know. That's all I know.
It's Kentucky, what do you expect?
That's right. Thank you, Dave. Speaking of Kentucky, never know what to expect weather-wise. I guess I'll let Dave Richardson, too, take us through what they put together for the weather event. Talk about that a little bit.
When we get the lights.
I think the screen's good enough, isn't it?
Okay.
Get out of your way.
All right, this is obviously dated last Monday, and I put it together before the last storm hit, because I did not realize that I was going to be late for it. So, the idea behind the file, basically just, what do you do if things get ugly? And I don't know, probably a lot of y'all heard, well, Linda in particular, on doing a weather net during the actual event. But anyway, so why am I doing this? Well, I'm obviously the first question. Hands have always taken pride in being the communications of last resort. That's kind of what we do when all else fails. Hands operate. So this is kind of our natural role. It's also historical role for emergency communications. So since I'm emergency communications coordinator for the club, okay. So, but look at the bad calendar. The bad weather is coming. Well, it got here ahead of this presentation. Hey, my timing's not so great, but it was. All right. So we've had winter weather. We've had got hit a pretty good leg with it, and anyway. I'll go through the rest of it. And here's the gotcha. As Linda put it on that text, we only get hit about every 5 years. We don't get a lot of bad weather around here. So of course nobody's in practice for it. So part of the game is documenting what you do. so that you are ready. Part of it is, well, what we call tabletop exercises. So, you know, to train you, or field day. Field day is supposed to be this also, an emergency communications thing. All right. Bad weather's not the only problem, but it's the most likely right now. Now, you know, I don't even want to talk about, say, earthquakes, but they're possible. But a lot of the same things apply in terms of communications preparation. All right, so how to know when to act. Again, this is aimed at weather. First thing, of course, is, hello, all right, I'm too far away. The National Weather Service does its best to alert everyone. Yeah, you'll hear that on a lot of the broadcast radio stations. You'll see it on TV stations, especially for the recurring drills, but they mean it. Of course, I've got a weather radio, and it wakes me up in the middle of the night no matter what, and so on. So there are plenty of alerts. We can also learn ourselves. The National Weather Service does have training, what they call weather spotter training, and there's also training on YouTube from previous National Weather Service courses, because they do them like on Zoom. So there's plenty of sources of things that tell you what to look for. Okay, oops, sorry. Here's one of the items that they give out. This is, you know, your Skywatcher chart. So we get down here to the mean stuff. Tornadoes, wall cloud, possible tornado formation, shelf cloud, wave cloud. This is the nasty stuff. But, you know, everything from low, high, wispy clouds on down is all on this chart. So you can actually kind of, you know, tell people, this is what I'm seeing. And it's pretty precise. I mean, yeah, it takes a little bit to tell the difference between H1, H2, et cetera, but nobody much cares about the cirrus clouds anyway. It's the low and nasty ones that you worry about, okay? So, but that's part of the, well, it says NOAA down there. That's something you get from books. Okay, on the other thing, you know, if you hear it, you hear other hands on a repeater. You can ask them, hey, what's the weather doing in your place? Okay, you can find, you know, you can start your own little impromptu thing. Say, hey, what's the weather doing over there? Oh, okay. So that's an obvious one. Watch the cable weather channel or whatever you use for your media, because they're always big on, oh, the disaster of the hour. So, you know, you'll get it. They'll make sure you know it's coming. That's what they make their money on. All right, what else? Come on, wake up. All right, so what do you do ahead of time? Well, I think most of us, like these battery boxes over here, we have a pretty good idea. But let's just talk about it for a minute. Obviously, you charge your batteries. Your phone. Most of your flashlights nowadays are rechargeable. That's not necessarily good if you have to use them. Why? Because then you can't change the batteries when they run out. So, rechargeable, so a regular D-cell flashlight, I've still got one next to my bed. But that's a way to make sure that you can change the bloody batteries if you have to really use it. First aid kit. Okay, the reason I mentioned first aid kits is that everything in a first aid kit has a date. And I'll tell you right now, mine's full of dead ones. Stuff is expired and then some. All right, so, I mean, like that little tube of first aid cream that comes in every one of those little kits, I think that's got a 2-year expiration on it, something like that. So it gets pretty ridiculous, but, you know, you throw it away and get a new one every year almost. But the stuff does actually matter. The dates on it matters, like the creams and those things. They do go bad. Bottled water. All right, everybody drinks a lot of bottled water nowadays. Well, I don't. But bottled water is a good thing to have around in case of. Obviously, if you lose water, you've got other problems. But at least you'll have something to drink and cook with. Generator and heater fuel. If well, okay, just about everybody nowadays has some kind of generator, or we hope we do. But a couple, like 5 gallons of fuel gets you through a day, you know, the first day. If you don't have that 5 gallons, you may be in line at a gas station for half of that day waiting to get gas. Because everybody's going to be running to the gas station for gas. Heaters, same thing. Kerosene heaters. Well, a lot of people have kerosene heaters. They're nice and they get toxic occasionally, but they're still a heat source. Any other suggestions? What else do you have to do to prepare? What do you need to stock up? Well, bread and milk, right? I mean, come on, Kroger's. But what else?
Ammo, so you can keep your bread and milk.
All right, so that's a thought process. What is your personal prepper moment?
There you go.
All right, so now what you do as a ham? That was just your normal everyday everybody needs to. But as a ham, what do we need to do? First off, you got to take care of your own safety. They hammered this on us in safety class, in rescue classes, excuse me, CERT classes and what have you. If you get hurt, now you're a victim. You're somebody else that the rescuers have to take care of instead of a helper. So you take care of yourself. Make sure you operate safely, and don't do something stupid and get yourself hurt. Because if you get hurt, you're a problem, not part of the solution then. Okay? That's the first thing, and they hammered that like crazy in the other classes I've taken. Do you have power? Obviously, most people are quite conscious when they lose power, unless it's 2 a.m. That takes a little longer. But, so, report it. Of course, everybody. I've got the phone app, the apps for the power company, and they have instantaneous, they know where you are, so click and you're done. But you can also call in on the phone, regular phone call. Okay, but the power company needs to know it. Even if you're right in the middle of a whole bunch of out, you don't know that. They need to know that. So, you talk to the power company. Look out the window. That's the next step. I mean, we're talking weather, okay? So it's out the window. Weather, okay, rain, ice, snow. Again, the weather spotter training, we've got, excuse me, a lot of tools for that. Everybody on, I think Android and iOS both, have a software program called MPing, M-P-I-N-G. And the weather, you basically say, raining here, boom, that's it. But that goes straight to the National Weather Service. So now they know what it's doing on the ground where you are. And if an hour from now it's snowing, bing, okay, it changed to snow. That's all you got to do. That goes straight to the National Weather Service by a few hops. But that's a really good thing to do. And it's painless. Okay? Again, I showed you the cloud chart, but there's other things. Beaufort wind chart. Beaufort's, that's an old naval, originally naval description, way of telling each other how what kind of wind there was. But of course, it's quite a bit higher now. You ain't going to find too many boats out at 90-mile-an-hour winds. But this basically gives you what you look outside to see to estimate the actual wind speed. Because, whether the tree's like this or like this matters. If it's laying on its side, you've got problems. So that's, the Beaufort scale starts with calm, goes all the way up to hurricane. Ooh, just about everything in between. Such as, let me just pick a number. 8. Beaufort, number 8. 39 to 46 mile an hour wind, 42 mile an hour average. It's called a gale, and twigs break from trees, cars are on the road. Been out driving in it, ain't fun. Cars doing this. Well, that tells you something. But that's the kind of thing that you look for to see how you tell. Okay, so now you've got a Beaufort number 8. Again, you can tell the National Weather Service, you've got straight line winds, you know. So, we've got, this is actually, this matters a lot to them. Most of the time it's basically stay inside type of stuff, but you start getting up 10, 11, 12, and you may not have a lot of choice about staying outside. Inside, I mean. Okay? So, other things, down trees, down antennas, we're all conscious of those. Other damage, while you can't do your neighbor a lot of favors just by reporting them say they lost some shingles, you can do that tomorrow and tell them, but look out the window, see what you see what damage, especially trees down in the street is an obvious one that, call 311 and they'll get streets and roads on it, okay? That's the kind of thing that really needs to be dealt with fairly quickly, because it has, especially when an ambulance needs to come through and there's a tree down. So, street lights out. That's generally when the neighbor loses power, right? But if your neighbor's lights are on and the street lights are on and yours aren't, it's your problem. Look in your basement. Look at your fuse box. You may have tripped something in your own house. It's hard to tell that stuff unless you compare, All right, so we have car wrecks. Again, they're road blockages. But they're also injuries, probably, possibly. Depends on the ice and how fast they were going and all of that. But you don't want to necessarily go out and look at it, just report it. Again, that's 911 stuff. It's not a big technical deal to report. Anything else you can think of? What else you want to report?
Pretty much anything going on that, if there's, you see a ruckus outside,
Well,
love it.
Yeah. If there's a crowd out there, there's real trouble. There's no question there. What else?
Trees down?
Yeah, I got the trees. There's multiple kinds of down trees. One's dropped on the power line, which has fall out that way, but the other one's blocking roads.
Fire.
Yeah, fire, okay. And actually, fires, it may be raining like crazy out, you can still have a fire. It does happen.
They happen a lot in the winter when people are trying to use
Right.
alternative heat sources.
We're talking about those kerosene heaters, but they're a real good source of ignition, especially if you kick them. That tends to mess things up. All right, so there's a thought process. What can you do, what you need to do, but also what do you see out the window? And I mean, broken windows in somebody's house. That's what matters to them. All right. So, all right. Of course, as a hand, you turn on the radio. Don't turn it off. Don't hide from it. Turn it on and listen. Okay? And report things. Help other people. I mean, we are hams. We are a service organization in a lot of ways. Communications of last resort. Back. Come on. Wake up. There we go. I have an ICS 205 handout. I did not bring it with me. There it is. ICS 205 is what we use for disaster planning to set up the frequencies and what they're used for in a given event. In this case, I just sort of generated a blank one, something in case of. So you can just throw it out there and say, okay, we're using this. But this was not a religious warfare thing. Okay, I just picked KK4WF, FW for downtown and our repeater for everywhere else. Okay, that was the first step. A lot of places downtown don't get the bars repeater. So you got two possibilities there. I listened to Lexington Financial Center repeater the whole time. I never heard squat. But I was listening to it in case of, okay? So, then of course, Bars Club, we carried a lot of traffic. Everybody was talking on our repeater. A lot of reports got given. The weather service was very happy with us for all of the weather reports. I think we did have a couple of 911, 311 calls also out of it. So, we didn't use the 440 a whole lot. We checked on it basically. But the number 4 there was Shelbyville repeater, which as anybody's ever talked on, covers an immense amount of territory. Here all the way to downtown Louisville and back. One repeater. Great placement. But that one was for, because almost all your weather comes from the west. It's going to get news of it on that repeater before it gets here. That's why I put that one on there. Of course, a lot of non-hands use GMRS. So channel 16 is Mike Monifo's Southern Communications. That's his GMRS repeater. It covers Lexington rather well, almost all the way to Frankfurt. And then, when all else fails, we go to Kentucky Area Simplex 146.550, which is what we use when we do the AresNet Simplex part. So a lot of people will have that programmed in, okay? But that's the when all else fails. And then finally, I put the Variac on here because in case I had to send some paperwork somewhere, that'll do the file transfers. So that's what that was the basic. Yeah, this is what we plan on doing in case of this fails, that fails. You know, so you got a follow-through plan. The backups, okay. Like for instance, one of the things our UHF repeater, number 3 there, happens to have a different power supply, and in this case, it has a brand new battery. So, even if the Bars repeater goes down, you know, lightning strikes TV tower, you've got that repeater will still be completely separate. Okay, so there's multiple reasons for putting all these repeaters on there. All right.
Hey Dave,
Sir.
is that form on the Bars webpage?
No, but I've got a copy to put on it. Okay.
Anywhere on the internet?
The form is, but this particular filled out one is.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what he meant, yeah. Okay, and this is something they tell the kids. See something, say something. But it's, why are we here? That's communications. That's what we're here for. So if something craps in your neighborhood, get on the radio and tell somebody. May not amount to much on your end, but say something anyway. Okay? Serious situations, fires, injuries, that's what we were talking about. Sometimes, if you see a real fire or a car wreck with an accident with obvious injuries, call 911 yourself. So we don't then tell people on the radio, but call 911 first. All right, whoops. Less serious stuff. Traffic stops, real bad ice, what have you. 311 is Lexington County's. I don't know, it's the less critical stuff, streets and roads, those kind of problems, that's what 311's for. So if you see something that's not people bleeding in the street, that might be a better place to report it.
It's also located in the EOC. If you call them and they need it to go fast, they will automatically transfer you over to them.
Thank you, I was about to say that, I appreciate that. Yes, 311, 911 are actually physically in the same place. So if they think you under prioritize it, they'll fix it. Just get it either way. Reporting on ham frequencies only if the others fail. Again, call 911, call 311, because those are the people that do something about it. Then report it to other hams. You know, we'll pass it around between us. And sometimes one of us can get to 911 when the others can't. But first, send it downtown. Okay? It really does make a huge difference in response time if you just take it straight downtown. Oops. Do it again. All right, the other is listen on the radio yourself. If it needs to go to 911 and you hear it on the radio, usually they're not going to complain too much if they get 2 reports of the same accident. They sure haven't when I've called one in. So, pass it along. Relay it. That's, you know, what hams do. We relay in simplex mode. Okay, so, last thing on the list, turn on the radio stuff. All right, we had a foul, I have set up what we call the foul weather net. And there's a lot of things, or a few things that are different from one like an Aries net, or, you know, Frank's net, or chat net. First off, it's informal. All right, so if whoever's on the air, doesn't matter who, although we set up in this case, Linda was running it, but basically take down the information. Who, what, where, when, why. Take it down, write it down yourself if there's nobody else there, and report it to the, you know, or pass it around between hands at least. Okay, and sometimes, like Linda got overwhelmed. So helping her out, some people actually did catch, you know, missed reports and what have you, and passed them back along again. So start out informal. Now there's 2 reasons I made it an informal net. One is we can't schedule it ahead of time, not to any sensible level. So you don't know when it's going to start, and you don't know when it's going to end. So it's a lot less formal that way. The other thing is that 9/10 of the people you're going to hear on that net aren't going to be there when it starts or when it ends. So what's the point of a great big long preamble nobody's going to hear, and nobody's going to be able to function using it? So we did it as an informal net, and I think basically it was a doctor's office model. The person on the radio was taking the reports and saying, well, what about this, what about that, you know, guiding them through, helping them out. I built a great big form of all this stuff that Linda went through. Well, okay, I probably missed some. But, you know, there's more to it than just taking check-ins and all that like we normally do. That stuff doesn't do any good when somebody's house is on fire, say. Okay, so the foul weather net it's informal. Keep it that way until the weather, radio traffic gets too busy. And I wrote this, but we were never able to formalize it when it was too busy. So that probably you'll never get there. You'll never get time to formalize it in the heat of battle. You're just going to have to ask for help. Other people to help report, record, what have you. Okay, so that really isn't likely to happen. And I did want to switch to, but I can't. Okay, current plan was to have monitor net controls on the air on the 760 and 940. Well, of course, Linda was on the 760 along with some help. Bobby helped. A guy named Brandon just came, yeah.
Right over here.
Sorry. But anyway, so we had a lot of, you know, we did have people taking shifts and covering that. I'm sorry, man. But anyway, so we had, and everybody else, several of us were listening on 940 and Shelbyville for anything else that wasn't, you know, that came up over there that they didn't know about our net or whatever. So we were covering these 3 repeaters all the time, basically. All right. That's all I had prepared. Does anybody got any questions?
I actually thought of something after the net, after we
Sure.
did that for the winter, is monitor some of the other repeaters around. Like we were wondering, okay, how are things going on in urban? Well, I thought about it after the fact to actually go over and check in on the urban repeater.
Well, and there's only a few people that can hit it. Okay, And if, so, if we go in ahead of time and plan for that, yeah, we can say, okay, you go there, you go there. But I did not have those resources. I don't know who could talk to those.
I believe I can hit the urban repeater for
And like Harvey's got Winchester, and he's got one hell of a set of antennas. So we don't have to try to hit him. But Winchester, I'm out of luck.
But Jamie checked in to Linda several times. He lives in Urban.
But, yeah, but he's got, he is always checking in on our.
I'm just saying that we got reports from Urban.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I see what
We got
you're saying.
reports from Urban and Montgomery County and lots from.
Oh, yeah, we had lots of people reporting, I mean,
Replaced.
places nobody expected to hear from, I'll guarantee that. But part of my learning on this one was, how do you guide the information collection? What do you need to record? Because in essence, if this becomes important, like national disaster level, if the governor declares a state of emergency that includes FEMA level stuff, they need documentation. So I'm working on how can we get ourselves up to that level, that next level for the next time.
But I got a question though, because there was some, I guess a little bit of confusion. I was listening to KM4, KPV a little bit with his instructions to Linda and stuff, and evidently they don't want a report unless it's first person. Is that correct?
National Weather Service doesn't.
Okay.
That was what Dave Nash was operating as. He was our National Weather Service contact person, and he has a direct line into that.
Because I was thinking, like where Jamie, he could only report what he saw out his window.
But that is fine, that's first person.
And,
Report.
And Brandon had a friend, so it was second person, who said something about a road was closed because of a wreck.
And we never could confirm that, if I remember right. But yes, so we put it down and we said, this is unconfirmed such and such. Okay, so we try to make sure that things are first person and or confirmed or both. Okay, like you said, Jamie can call in straight into the net. There's no problems getting reports from him on in Urban, as long as he's away. But, and just like Harv can get here from Winchester, or Mike,
Lawrenceburg.
yeah. No, Mike from Lawrenceburg, or Mike from Winchester also, right?
Yeah, Michael Flack.
Mike Flack. So, I mean,
Define first person. I mean, David Nash he's the first person if he's the one.
but the trouble with this is National Weather Service, they won't even give me the ability to report directly. He's had the ability to report directly.
Yeah, but David is hearing it from Linda, Linda's hearing it from me, who's.
Oh, Dave got on and did some I mean, I heard some of him.
Yeah, he monitored the
Yeah.
frequency some, but still, if I report it to Linda, Linda reports it to David, does National Weather Service still monitor? They don't.
No, if you report it to Linda, you're a known person. That's all that matters. Somebody, Joe Schmo, from Outer Bumfuzzle, reporting to us, that's unconfirmed unless we have other means of confirming it, okay? But one of the people we know, your name's on it. If you're gonna feed us a line, we'll come back to you, okay? So it's confirmed when you put your name on it, okay? And that's how else do we operate, right?
Right.
That's what the call signs are for. Identify yourself.
And you touched on it, and I think that we've actually spoke on that before as a group, that, we're not out here doing first responder type stuff. But for the ham radio operators in the area, they really appreciate it, I think, for the most part, of the efforts of those that took control. And David called me and asked me, you said you'd do it. I said, fine. So to run the net and to keep it going so that when you turned the radio on, you could hear people talking and you kind of had an idea what's going on out there in the world.
And if you listen to it for any length of time, you recognize that, I don't know half of these people. There were a lot of people in there that we don't know.
Yeah.
It reached out, and we got a lot more coverage in terms of people coverage and in terms of area coverage than I had ever expected us to have. That's why Linda was going crazy for a while. But she handled it.
She handled it as her first foray into that, and she did thumbs up. So if y'all see Linda or hear her on the radio, give her a big kudos.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, she'd sit there for hours and hours.
And she was knocking out.
And all night.
Yeah, and she took copious notes.
Yeah. She's got a file.
Yeah.
She takes good notes.
I think to clarify what Mike was asking though, between first or second, a prime example would be like when I reported the power outage over in Hamburg. That was relayed from somebody I knew that sent me a text, said, hey, our power is out over here. And I relayed that into the net. That would be the second person versus if it was me. If it was something I saw and I was reporting in.
The thing of it is especially in an emergency, we can't be too hard-ass about has to be first person.
Right.
So a friend of his texting him is close enough, especially when the power company probably knows to a decimal place who's reporting and where anyway.
If you go on the LG&E app, first thing it tells you is your power is on.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
So
I use it all the
They know
time.
exactly if you got power or not.
So I use it, but like for instance, one of the things that we really earned some kudos for, and I have to give Dave Nash some credit for it. He's the one that actually, like I said, hit National Weather Service. But if you looked at the after action thing that National Weather Service put out, we had more ice depth reports around Lexington and surrounding counties than anywhere else in the entire state, including Lowell. And we were the heaviest hit, so that's appropriate. And most of it came through Barge Repeater and Linden. So right there says we've done something worth doing. Ice reporting, how many inches of ice did you have? Some guy said, oh, I've got, I don't know, a quarter inch. And National Weather Service says, really? And the guy says, oh yeah, I went out and took 4 samples of this and this and this, got the calipers out and measured them. The guy's gone, oh, okay, so, you know, there's engineers out there taking ice measurements. All right, that's the kind of thing the National Weather Service really desperately needs, is good information. But anyway, anything else?
This covers, this is outside your plan, but this covers, of course, typically local kind of stuff. A big thing that the hams used to provide was health and welfare traffic, for example.
Right.
Hurricanes and tornadoes.
Right.
Where there were people in California want to know how their kids were in Lexington or whatever.
And it's different bands. I mean, this was set up purely for a local weather emergency, okay? Right. If we're going to go into that kind of thing, and I am looking at stuff like that, but it's an entirely different class of preparation. And also, like a lot of it's digital over that kind of thing. A lot of people use Vera. A lot of emergency responders use Vera, because that's what I'm out there looking at, talking to these people who are using Vera, even locally, is in 2-meter Vera, because it's document instead of just word, okay? So you can ship an ICS 213 form over your 2-meter rig with Vera, okay? Stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of work going into digital mode transfer because, well, at least mostly because of FEMA, because they want paper and they want documents. But you'll find out that if you ever try to do any of the management of these sorts of things, that paper, the next time, that paper from the last time matters, Because you find out, oh, how do we do that? Yeah, these disasters don't happen every day, every place. So the paper gets you the information on what happened somewhere else. Okay, learning. But yes, to your point, I have spent some time looking at it. There are, like there's a Kentucky emergency net on 39, anyway, down on 80 somewhere, 75 meters. And I honestly have a lot of trouble hitting it. There's a digital version of it. Of course, there's daily talk nets on that, in that band too. But in reality, most of that stuff that is, specialized emergency response stuff, working those kind of distances, is semi-military equipment.
I used to do a lot of it, and that was back when phone patches were
Yeah,
popular.
right.
And there are usually anytime a hurricane or something like that comes up, will announce on the internet, assuming the internet's up, like, okay, we're gonna have a net on 14.330 or we're at 320, or on 80 and 47, whatever. Anyways, I just wondered if there's any formal
Well,
look at that.
There's a dozen different ones, that's the problem.
I can talk a little bit about Hurricane Maria. Remember that? Puerto Rico several years ago? Yeah, there was there was a 40-meter frequency and a 20-meter frequency that was set aside for traffic.
Yeah.
And the Hurricane WatchNet started that, but then it come back across where they would call in and you had, on the radio, and you had designated places
Yeah.
that would
Yeah, but
make phone calls for them.
Yeah,
We did it.
I did all that, but
Yeah.
I was more
Yeah, a long time
interested.
ago,
For
we did.
example, you started to mention, you said you wouldn't mention earthquakes. There's an example.
There's an example of
If we had
something
an
that's a different
earthquake,
category
now
of
you're
scale.
talking about a whole lot of health and welfare type traffic is needed.
Oh, yeah.
Where you get, you get tons of different kinds of traffic that are totally different
We
from
wouldn't have
earthquake.
to, you don't have to call in too much to the weather service, they already know we've got a
Right.
earthquake.
Yeah.
And they can't do jack
Kind of
about it.
weather.
The trick
Space
with
weather, earth weather.
earthquakes, now, this was set up for here now,
Yeah, right.
okay? I do not have a good set of plans for an earthquake in this part of the country because there's an awful lot of stuff that, shall we say, falls out. I mean, most of the connections, most of the connections between here and western Kentucky are gone. You can't get to St. Louis. Because there's like 5 bridges that are gone with any size earthquake. So, I mean, that's where, National Guard and helicopters and all that stuff comes into play. So what kind of communicate? Well, okay, there's Moorhead. And so, yeah, you think about things like we use Echolink. Echolink is still working to Mayfield after Mayfield didn't exist. Okay? We talked to a ham who was using 2 meters via Echolink from here. Mayfield didn't exist anymore, but he was still on the air.
These
Okay?
water repeaters were up too.
Well, then that's the amazing thing. Ham repeaters tend to be here when nothing else is. I mean, the police lose all their shit. We're there. We don't have that problem.
And one more thing that you
Sure.
mentioned, I've got good antennas, yes I do, but all of my antennas are popsicles.
Oh, yeah.
What there is make sure that you've got indoor antennas good enough to get you by or something in the attic.
Yep. And that's all I've got is indoor, and it works
Can't
enough
you
to
melt
get to
the
the
ice with your
repeater.
hand?
That's good during lightning storms too, thunderstorms.
Well, yeah.
Have it inside.
My HF is out in the backyard, but it's not even as tall as my house. So it's a minimal lightning risk. But yeah, and that's a good point. Lightning risk, same thing on yours. So again, lightning was one of the risks I mentioned because it starts fires, number one. But basically it wipes out power lines, so that is a risk. every spring, how much gets wiped out by lightning? Well, depends on the year. Well, that's even without the fires. I'm just talking about the near hits on the power lines and stuff. So yeah, go ahead.
The discussion about what types of communications we might need is an excellent one. The discussion about what kinds of distances we may need to cover in the traffic is a good one, because it's a starting place to start considering it. For instance, the health and welfare nets. Really, unless a person has HF capabilities and plenty of experience on HF, which is unlike VHF, they really will get overwhelmed very quickly.
And the pileups are horrendous. Just stuff like that, yes.
Most of you know I'm officially an Oregon resident. And I've spent many, many years in the National Guard up there dealing with this very issue, because they have something up there called the Cascadia Subduction Zone, just off the coast. It runs from Northern California up to British Columbia, 700 miles. And the last time it went off, it created massive destruction. And the state geologist said of the 3,000 roads and bridges in Oregon, one would remain operational. In the city of Portland, they have 500 different bridges and walkways, railroad, bike paths and the like. And they estimated that there would be 0 functional after an event with the Cascadia Subduction Zone.
We've got the same problem with the New Madrid.
I was born and raised in Missouri. I understand fully that situation. And having the foresight to look at the magnitude of total destruction, which is what the New Madrid fault would create, because it would rupture all of the natural gas pipelines. Now think about what happens. We had one blow off here a few years back, and it left a big crater, okay?
Long day.
All of your...
Yeah, you would know.
It was a long day.
I worked for natural gas pipeline, and in the winter of 81, 82, we had 2 pumping stations on the line coming out of Nebraska fail, and as a result, that line of natural gas to Chicago was not functional. The line coming from Texas up through Arkansas was barely able to keep some natural gas into Chicago. There was actual oil coming out of the gas nozzles in people's homes, because the temperatures, I just happened to be reinstalling microwave equipment in southern Illinois that night, and we measured minus 32 degrees while we were installing that equipment, because we could not do it during the daytime. So, because the microwave needed to be operational. So we were putting in new Motorola equipment, and that was a whole nother issue. But it was really, really cold, and people's homes were without heat. Now, if you lose all the natural gas pipelines in Kentucky, which there's quite a few, all the homes are going to be without heat. Show me how many buildings are built in Kentucky to earthquake standards.
I'll give you a nice round number.
Probably
0.
less than 10 in the entire state.
I know that a couple of companies have built a couple of factories that way, but they're very clearly the exception, and a lot of it's because some of them mainly come out of Japan.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're going to have massive destruction. You're going to have a North Carolina situation with no heat, no transportation, no food, because everybody's going to do exactly what they did last week and buy everything out immediately.
I'm going to tell you about that. I went to the grocery store right after the storm started.
Sorry.
Kroger's. It was empty.
Yeah,
One loaf of bread in the whole store.
yeah.
It was, I never seen it like, I asked the lady there, what the hell? And she said, they came in here in hordes and took everything.
Well, people are starting to wake up, which is a really good thing. They're starting to recognize that if there's a possibility of a problem, there's a probability it will happen.
Okay.
And so that's good. Pete, you're gonna have to sit down.
Pardon?
I said this needed to be discussed on more than one level. I'm just trying to cover the local situation.
And that,
No, I wasn't thinking.
Thank you.
No.
Let's thank Dave.
And guys, I actually had this done in time for the storm.
I don't believe it.
Ask Linda, she saw it.
I'll finish up really quick, and I think this is exactly where the club needs to go. You need to discuss it, think about it, and try to not develop plans, but become proficient in your equipment, your operating procedures, and allow the event to determine what the requirements are gonna need, you're gonna need. So
And that's
your
exactly
skills-
why I did the net, asked Linda to do the net the way she did.
Right, it needs to be impromptu, so people get used to talking and passing information, and number one, listening to instructions and listening
And-
to other
And to
people.
be in a state of readiness.
Exactly.
I mean, make sure your equipment's working, and you've got a backup antenna in case you went outside. You know, you can make a cheap J-pole here at the shack, leave it in your desk drawer, roll it up, leave it in your house, and they work, don't they, Brandon?
They do.
Now,
If you
Don't
come
they?
in here.
I'll make another comment on the forms. The 205 form, as you saw an example of, is always written at the event to take advantage of the assets that may be available and that also what assets may be non-functional. So do not expect it to be written in stone. Expect to be given the pertinent information you need at the time of the event. Having a guideline, a general club, okay, this is how we first get operational, excellent.
Which was the point. I mean, I did not write it for this storm. I just wrote it as a general form.
Yeah, and the other thing is to, please take the ICS classes so that you get an understanding of what actually takes place during the management of an emergency. It really helps give you perspective. Even though you may not be involved in it, you'll understand the overall function of the organization, how you fit into it, and how other people that are doing jobs, how they fit in and why you may need to listen to them. So I really, and if the club really wants to get recognition, everybody should try to go through ICS 400. It really, it changes the entire perspective on emergencies, emergency management, and how every part works, including the part that you may be responsible for.
sounds like we got some people in the mix now that are becoming knowledgeable on what we need and how we'll have some training available.
And how to supervise the rest of us.
And how to keep all of us monkeys in line.
Yep.
All of it.
And I want to make one other thing. We've been able to thank Linda a lot, and because she really bent over backwards and did a lot. But I think somebody else that I know I haven't had a chance to give proper thanks to is David for arranging all this and making certain everything, make certain that everybody else was in the right place.
Him or
Yeah.
Nash or both?
Him and Nash particularly are the ones I'm thinking about.
We got a lot of Davids that do a
Well,
lot
yeah.
of things. I don't know what this club would do without David.
I'm gonna
This is Dave David.
I don't know who does the website, but I have a copy of that ICS form and a copy of my presentation cleaned up so it works in a PDF. Okay, so I've got two files that we can put up on the website so that people can see this stuff, okay? I printed out all of a copy of the ICS forms for everybody, and I screwed them up because I had an error in them.
Well, I know I've thought several times that I wanted to make certain that, you know, I really appreciated your effort in things too. Because you were the one that stepped up and said, okay, you know, here's who's gonna be monitoring these repeaters and put them in the right place. And, you know, between you and Nash, particularly coordinating all that was an amazing thing. I really appreciate it.
Want to make a quick proposal?
Sure.
I think that since Linda's not here, I can toss this out there and it won't embarrass her. We should consider using the phonetics on her call of KQ4 RFO as KQ4 really fine operator.
There you go. Instead of real fine Oreo. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually a good idea.
Real fine Oreo.
I can go with that.
It's just a little
I
tribute,
like it.
because she really stepped up.
Yes, she
And
did.
She
She did.
was
She knocked it
there.
out of the park. Or
So,
it just clicked.
I mean, I gave the guidelines, you've seen the guidelines, you know what she did?
Oh, really?
Yeah, she went way above and beyond and actually thought it out right.
Maybe we should send her flowers.
Yeah, she executed wonderfully on that.
Yeah. Anybody got anything else?
Only one thing, if we ever do have this big earthquake or some other natural disaster
Yes.
that really wallops the whole entire area, we hope that our responders can handle the situation better than what we've seen happen out in California with the fire.
that was
Because
deliberately set up to create that situation.
The
Do not
ineptitude was
think
scary.
that that was an accident. That was deliberate.
And I don't really think it's the responders that's doing a bad job.
No.
When you hook a fire hose up to a fire.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but it's the people that run the departments that were in charge of making sure the infrastructure wasn't broken.
They were paid idiots under DEI to deliberately destroy the entire environment and the economy of Southern California.
Well, they almost succeeded.
Well, does anybody make a motion that we go home?
Let's go home. I move.
Let's go home? All right. You will do it. And go home. Let's see. What beer bottle start flying?